Hello out there, YouTubers, and welcome to PE Slick Podcast. I'm your host, Matt here. Each week I'm going to bring you something different in terms of leadership, ministering, entertainment, book authoring, and much more. But before we begin each time, I'm going to be airing a classic throwback commercial from back in the 80s or 90s or 2000s for my personal liking. Stay tuned.
This sink was cleaned by Albert's mother. She got all the tough, greasy stains she could see, and lots more she couldn't see, because they were way below the surface in teeny tiny cracks. Albert's mom used Comet with bleach-boosted chlorinol, which, unlike her old cleanser, penetrates tough grease better and bleaches way down deep. Next time, consider Comet, considering what happens in sinks. For dirt you see and dirt you don't. Comet for the deeper clean.
And we're back. Your host, Ranger Matt here. Joining me this week is a good friend of mine and an excellent leadership motivational speaker. His name is Chris Jordan. Chris Jordan has written an excellent book called Inspired to Lead. You were also in the Air Force as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. He has he is an excellent Veterans Day man to us as well. He is also, I also envision him being our next president of the United States as well.
Oh my goodness.
Joining
Those
me,
are big shoes to fill.
oh yeah. Chris is also good friends with Mr. Dominique Brightman, who you guys seen on my podcast as my pilot, the first episode. And I'm having him join us this week to give us some advice as far as leadership goes and what you can do to also advance yourself. Hello, Chris.
Hello, sir. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing well. How you doing today?
Doing well myself. Just moving and grooving, man.
Gotcha. All right. First thing first, let me ask you, where are you from?
Originally from a place called Lansing, Illinois. I just tell people it's basically South Chicago. It's right at the very end tip of South Chicago. So it's just easier if I say South Chicago. It gives people a better idea. But Lansing, Illinois is where I'm from.
Okay. All right. And what hobbies did you have growing up?
Growing up, I played a lot of baseball. I drew quite a bit. A lot of music and stuff like that. Just kind of all the kid stuff. And then, kind of went more into more of the sports. I did baseball, tennis, cross country, basketball, football. I did all the sports. I wasn't like a jock or anything like that,
Right.
by any stretch of imagination, but I did love sports. But I had a lot of things going on in my personal life, and so I didn't really put too much into that. I ended up really focusing on how to get out of Dodge, so to speak, and so that's how I ended up in the Air Force. I joined the Air Force while I was basically still in school, and so as soon as I graduated, I was on my way out. So, the hobbies are just basically that kind of stuff.
Okay. Now you said you was an animator. Now, were you by chance working with Disney or DreamWorks?
No, I wasn't an animator by any stretch of imagination. Just drew a lot, and just kind of put stuff on paper, and nothing like quote unquote published or anything. But my son currently does a lot of illustration and drawing and stuff like that. So you might want to keep an eye out for him, but definitely not for me.
Okay. So when I first met you, it was through Dominique Brightman, and it was through Toastmasters. How did you get involved with that?
Now, Toastmasters, I actually got involved with that just over 3 years ago. I was certified. I just got done going through the certification process with John Maxwell, the leadership speaker and trainer and coach. And one of the things that they suggested, to do to build networks and stuff like that was to join a Toastmasters club. And so that's why I joined. Ultimately, I went to the Toastmasters club just to network. And I ended up becoming the president of that club and meeting Dom. And here we are 3 years later, and a lot has happened in between then. From Dom releasing his first book and then his second book, to me, releasing my first book that actually was kind of because Dom did, Dom can do it. Dom challenged me to do my book, and so Dom's an amazing young guy who's a big part of not just the Toastmasters journey, but the journey that we have through Inspired to Lead, not just the book, but the event that has been created from it. So he's been an amazing part of my Toastmasters journey, and just really, just an amazing dude. Just very blessed to meet him.
Absolutely. So I have to say, I do have my copy of your book, Inspired to Lead. I suggest everybody go out and get their copy of this book. It's an amazing, inspirational book. And there were 2 quotes in there that I liked, and I wanted to maybe get you to comment on both of them if you could. The first quote was, good leadership is making lives better. That was the first one. And the second one, which is actually on page 17, which I found the most touching to me is as far as, reaching out to people and giving advice in terms of leadership and advancing themselves. You said, if we see the greatness in the person and work to help release it, you will reap a reward more fulfilling than you can imagine. But if you fail to see greatness, you will then act toward that person as if they are not worthy of a successful life.
That's good. It's totally different hearing you say it than when I heard it. I love it. I love it. Well, the first one, good leadership is making lives better. So, ultimately, as leaders, our bottom line purpose is to serve, right? And so in my mind, I think, if we're serving people and we're serving them with the right motive, not to get anything in return. I'm not going to, help you out expecting you to do something in return. I'm doing it because that's just who we are, right? So good leaders know what service looks like. Zig Ziglar does say that, if you help others do what they want, they'll help you get what you want. But there's not a motive attached to that. So that's why I think good leadership is making lives better. It's such a great quote because you see the fruit of your leadership and the way you serve in the spheres of influence and those that you've impacted. And so if you want to say, hey, am I a good leader? One of the best ways to find out is to look at those that you have impact on and see what's happening in their lives, and are their lives better because of their connection with you or because of that interaction with you.
Right.
And then the last one, there was a very long quote. So basically, we're just going to probably dial that down to every person that you come in contact with, place a pen over their head. You know what I mean? In your mind, you just got to look at them for their unlimited potential, right?
Right.
As a Christian, I look at them for their created value. Right? God tells us to look at the heart of a person, not the exterior. But even as a leader, we can look at them and say, hey, I'm gonna put a 10 on that person, right? So, if I meet you and I say, oh no, this guy's he's never gonna do anything. Well, you're gonna meet my expectations. Right? No matter what you do, I'm always going to have that belief. But if I say, now here's Matt, man, I expect great things from Matt. And this is where I see Matt. And this is how I'm going to treat Matt. And that comes out in how I interact with you. Both ways it'll come out, which is why it is. But if I interact with you and I say, man, look at the potential you have here. I love the way you are creative in here. I love how this, or, I treat you like that 10. Even if you don't believe it, if Matt says, man, I'm 5 at best, but if I'm treating you as a 10, you aren't really going to have a choice because you're going to have to start believing those things. Because if I do it right, if I serve you right, you're going to be influenced whether you want to be or not in a positive way, and you're going to start operating and working at higher levels just because you begin to believe exactly what it is I see in you. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes, it do.
Just like vice versa on that. if I want to, down you out and you think you're a 5, but I'm like, dude, you're never going to amount to nothing, and I treat you as such, then you're going to take your 5 down to 0, and it's not going to be good either. And our job as leaders is to lift people up, period, end of story. You can look in history and see good and bad leaders and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately, if we look at it for the pure motive of what leadership is, and that's to serve others, that naturally lends itself to helping other people's lives get better.
Right. And I honestly believe having good leaders to especially show somebody who's lost, because, the one problem that's out here, though, is a lot of negativity. And then you have people who say, from past experience, from what I've heard from people is, well, I want to do leadership, show good, but I got problems in my own life. So how do I manage my own life and show somebody else at the same time? And, positive and believing the faith in that is what's good. And being a good leader and showing somebody a good step could also help you out as well in the long run as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the thing you're seeing on is the whole idea of leading self before you can lead others. And it's, you cannot give what you don't have. And, one of the things I think a lot of people make mistakes on is jumping into leadership right out the gate saying, I want to be a leader, but having never been a follower or understanding what it really entails. And so they start trying to put themselves in this position. They get burned out really fast. You probably see that in this world. And then that's where a lot of negativity comes in, because I think instead of finding yourself first and then going into that role, you go into that role and realize you haven't found yourself and you crash, and so then the negativity comes out. Well, this isn't for everybody, and this and that, and that, you did all that stuff. And I think leading yourself actually has to be first, because that's just dealing with yourself and the negativity. If you mention negativity in the world, if you can't handle it, if you haven't set yourself up right to begin with and you somewhere, then you're negative compounded onto the world negativity, you just get into the feeding frenzy of negativity, and it just exponentially blossoms in your life. And where does that then take you? Whereas if I think you're set up right, you put yourself in that position to serve and be a follower and learn leadership, and then be able to start leading and influencing people from that space of understanding, who you are, leading yourself. When that negativity comes, it's not going to shake you, because you know who you are, and you know where you're coming from, you know what fills you, and you know how to share that in the way that you're supposed to, so that it doesn't hurt you, but just impacts and makes lives better around you.
Right. I do believe too that, because putting God first is important, and people like you, Chris, and Dom, and Clyde Middleton, Bill Eckers, Dexter, a lot of y'all leadership people, book authors, I think that God knew what he was doing by pinpointing folks like you guys to give advice of leadership.
Yeah. You're nailing it. Everything I do comes from the foundation of my identity in Jesus. Period, end of story. And, you'll hear in everything that I say, Dom says, Dexter says, you'll definitely hear, the values, the principles, and the beliefs, come out in what we say, because they're eternal, and they're, universal, beliefs and core values that this world actually operates on. Whether you want to believe or not believe that there's a God, ultimately you're going to say and do the same things that we follow and believe, and so it just makes me laugh sometimes, because it's all right there. It's all quite readily available and quite obvious, but that doesn't change the fact that I will always represent who I am in Jesus. I truly believe that God absolutely puts the right people in the right place at the right time for the right reason, and we just got to be willing to move at it.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, I just want to say real quick that Chris Jordan has a wonderful supporter in his wife. She's really important for a lead. I've met her, and actually the first time I met you 3 years ago when John first started taking me to these events.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah, she's absolutely amazing. Without her, none of this happens. And honestly, you talk about God and and the blessings of God and all that kind of stuff. And the Bible says when you find a wife, you're going to do well. And I think that this is just complete manifestation of that. God definitely blessed me when I didn't deserve it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all understand that. If we all got what we deserve, we all go to hell. So I'm very grateful for not getting what I deserve. And I definitely, after everything I went through and being saved 7 years ago, and really having a quite tumultuous life before then, to be restored and redeemed and set free and brand new, starting over brand new, to be able to be given a gift, and I'm really like I have been, has been absolutely phenomenal. It was more than I could ever hope or imagine. Especially after I told God that I was done with women and I was just going to serve God, and I was done because I screwed it up so much prior to being saved. And for Him to bring me Emily and just her passion and her heart, it just it makes me even right now it's a praise and worship moment for me to God for that.
Yeah.
Yes, I just can't even express it, as you can tell. I'm just kind of like trying not to cry right now.
Hey, if people gotta get emotional when doing these podcasts, and do what you gotta do. I'm not the one to stand in the way of emotionality. We all gotta express ourselves. That's because we got a good heart.
Amen.
Now, like I said, you wrote a good book. I know you mentioned how it came about, but in advance of it coming, is there plans for a second book?
There's plans for a couple different books, actually. I kind of have one in the works that kind of deals with our life right now as foster parents, and then I'm thinking about doing a second volume, if you will, of Inspired to Lead. I just haven't quite got to a point yet where I'm ready. I think that it might be something maybe I get pushed into doing because a lot of people keep asking. I will look into doing that and maybe have it ready for our next event in February. It'd be a good idea.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm definitely coming to that event. When Dom first told me about that, I said, bro, I'm coming to that event, man. Can you come in? He's going to be there. Some quick Clyde and some others is going to be there. I got to say real quick, though, on a personal level, each time Dom has brought me to the Toastmasters events and I met with you guys, I always leave there with a hope of positivity and motivation, inspired. And that's important to help other people as well, like we talked about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If the whole idea behind the Inspired to Lead event is to be inspired to be inspiring. So our goal is to give you, inspirational action items that you are then going to turn around and go out into the world and do, and people are going to see and be like, dude, that inspired me. Like what you just did, that's inspiring. And you're like, now go do it yourself. And it's that multiplication of value out into the community. Yeah, every time we get this team together, it just blows my mind. And after the last event, it was funny because after the last event, we got the team together and said, okay, we're going to do another one in February. Who do we want? And everybody said, let's bring the team together and let's do this. So our speaker set this time is basically our core team, plus Clyde's life and my life. And this is the first time we're all going to be like, boom, locked in like this, and it's going to be our fourth event. It's kind of been a little different here and there, but this is going to be an amazing event because we got the core team really put together, decided to come together and do it good this time. You know what I'm saying? Not that it's never been good, but we're up leveling it, taking it to a place where those people that want to be a part of Inspired to Lead, like, Matt Pearson maybe wants to speak or be a part of, events like this, or get up on stages. They get to see how bringing a team together that has the same mindset, the same values, and the same heart to serve, and just put it out there for everybody to see what that looks like in the realm of leadership, personal and professional growth. I'm super excited about it.
Absolutely. So, Chris, what are your plans for 2020? I mean, as I've mentioned to people, and I know you know this too, when 2020 comes, it's going to begin a new decade. We're kind of saying goodbye to the 2010 time. I got to add, 2010 was the year I graduated high school, so we say goodbye to 2010 decade, and we're going into 2020. And of course, each year there's new technology and everything, and leadership as well is important as well for the new year. But what are your plans for the new year?
Yeah, wow. So 2020, there's so many things you could say and do, but ultimately it's going to come down to coming back to the basic foundation of building relationships. And then it's just going to go back to more impactful, deeper connections that are going to actually bring about more change, right? It's not about going an inch deep and a mile wide for me this year coming in. It's about going an inch wide and a mile deep. It's about really drilling into very specific things and very specific relationships and really fostering that growth, because 2020 to me is really, it's a leap year. And so for the Inspired to Lead event, we're using leap in our marketing. We're actually saying leveraging experience to accelerate progress. And the more I talk about that, the more it makes me realize that leveraging of experience has to happen through relationships. And in order to accelerate progress, we have to go deep in those relationships, because if we just kind of cover a big expanse of space, we're just touching the tip of the waves and we're not really getting anywhere. And the way we can have real impact is to drill down into those opportunities and those moments to really pull out some of them, the potential in each of them in those situations. So for me, it's just really taking everything that I'm involved in and going deep in relationship with everybody I connect with. And not going around trying to connect with hundreds of people, but hey, whoever's in front of me, that's who I'm going to connect with. I'm going to dedicate time to, and I'm going to honor that space, and let God bring about, like we said earlier, those people into the right situation at the right time, and just see what the balance is.
Right. Now, I have to ask, what advice do you give for people that's in need of a good leader, and vice versa, trying to get into a similar field that you're involved in giving leadership?
My first advice would be to surround yourself with those people as best you can, whether that's getting to these conferences, like you said, put yourself in the space with people that are doing it, so that way you can learn from them. Reading books, obviously, doing the research and stuff, but it's really ultimately going to come out of a relationship. So you've got to get in the room with people. You've got to connect with people, even if that's like, hey, I know Dom, I know Chris, so I'm gonna give him a call, and be like, hey, can you give me an hour of your time, or whatever that looks like, to just sit down and maybe just answer some questions I have. Put yourself in places and situations where you have no choice but to be a little challenged, and learn and grow from those that are already doing it.
Absolutely. Now, Christmas time is approaching. What do you love about Christmas?
I honestly love, more than anything, even though I wish it lived throughout the whole year, but this is a time of year where people give, where they don't think about themselves as much, right?
Right.
And I think that I just like seeing that that atmosphere of just giving and joy and those things. That's one of the downfalls about Christmas season, is it's only during the season. A lot of times you lose that, once it's all done, and then you're like, okay, that's done, now I can get back to doing. I would love to see that spirit of giving and joy and just hope just transcend across the whole time, all the time. And I think that would change the world for sure. But it's just, spending quality time with family and friends, just watching the delight of people coming together and just talking and sharing each other's space, and the gifts and stuff like that are part of it. I don't like receiving gifts per se. I love to watch other people opening the gifts and just the surprise in their eyes, and just those connections that are made where somebody says, "Oh my gosh, how did you even know? This is exactly what I needed." and just they start talking and having fun, and that's just, for me, I just love to sit back and just be in that space, you know.
Right. Now, before we wrap, with us talking about Toastmasters, I had two questions for you real quick. The first one, when you first got into Toastmasters, as I mentioned earlier, I started coming with John Brightman, and that's how I met you guys. When you guys speak, of course, you speak in front of a small audience, a big audience. When you first started doing it, were you ever shy or nervous about doing it?
I'm going to say no. Shy, definitely not. Nervous is a word. If I say I'm nervous, that changes how I present versus if I say I'm excited. So I don't ever say I was ever nervous, not anymore, ever since having that kind of revelation, if you will. But I do remember the first meeting I was at, the very first meeting. I just came in to say hi. I actually gave my icebreaker. So, you know, it was more of a, yeah, I'll just go ahead and do this. And so I saw it as, I was excited because I saw it as an opportunity.
And the second question I had is, from doing Toastmasters for the last 3 years and doing leadership motivational speaking as well, what is that feeling like when you do these and you meet new people each time?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's an energetic thing for me. Like, there's some people that speak and that drains them and they gotta go home and sleep for 2 days. My wife is always like, oh man. I get, you know, the speaking itself isn't what excites me, but it's the in between. It's talking to people, it's hearing their stories, it's hearing, you know, the impact that they're having and just connecting with people. Man, that gets me fired up. That's where my energy is. So I love it. I love that stuff.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Chris, I thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to appear on my podcast, PE Slick Podcast, and I wish you well on your journey. I'm always happy to meet with you each time I attend a Toastmasters event. I hope down the line you can come back on my program and we can talk some more.
Absolutely, anytime.
And I gotta say real quick too, I know I said it a little bit earlier, but each time I meet you guys, I always leave with something positive, because for someone like myself, you know, it's like going to a new job, or when you're new to a school, you know, you meet new people, you don't really know them, so you kind of quiet, but you talk around people that you know, but as soon as time progresses, you meet new people, you come around, and that's kind of my take from it is, you know, I'm always motivated to meet people, and you always joke saying, when am I going to join the Toastmasters?
I do all the time.
Yeah. But I always take away something positive, so I do encourage other people, if you're listening out there, to please come to a Toastmasters gathering. You're going to like Chris. He's a cool guy, and he will motivate you to where you need to be in life. And Chris, I wish you well, and thanks again, man.
Yeah, absolutely, and I appreciate having you on here.
Thanks again, folks, for listening, and I'll be back in just a moment after this commercial break.
What happens when we put Clorox bleach in Soft Scrub Cleanser? Ooh, the label turns green. And stains come clean. Get Soft Scrub with the stain-fighting power of bleach.
Well, YouTubers, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you for tuning in this week for PE Slick Podcast. I'm your host, Ranger Matt, signing off. Until next time, you have a good night now.